Hello, I'm Millie, and I met my husband Sebastian in high school. We fell in love and got married after college. Our relationship was beautiful, filled with love and happiness, except for one dark cloud that always loomed over us: Sebastian's family. Sebastian's family despised me. It seems like they had made it their mission to exclude and belittle me at every turn. Whenever I shared my experiences of their bullying with Sebastian, he brushed it off, accusing me of making things up. He insisted that his family just needed time to accept me, but deep down I knew it was more than that. His mother Lottie was the worst of them all. She nitpicked everything I did, finding faults where there were none. It didn't matter how hard I tried. Lottie always found a reason to criticize me. One time, we went to a family gathering with Lottie and Charles and their friends. Instead of being kind, they chose to embarrass me in front of everyone. They made fun of how I looked, laughed at my opinions, and even mocked my hobbies. It was so hurtful and humiliating. I desperately wanted Sebastian to support me, but when I told him what happened, he took their side. He didn't believe me and said I was making a big deal out of nothing. He thought their behavior was harmless and that I was being too sensitive. It was heartbreaking that my own husband didn't stand up for me. Feeling alone and ignored, I realized I had no one on my side. It was like I was fighting a tough battle without any support from the person I loved. Their hurtful actions and Sebastian's refusal to see the truth made our marriage toxic and caused more pain. Every time we met with his parents, it led to huge fights between Sebastian and me. Despite it all, I stayed because I loved Sebastian, and he treated me right except for those dreaded visits to his parents. One day, Sebastian's parents called and invited us to travel to Spain with them. Sebastian eagerly accepted on our behalf, but I expressed my discomfort. "Babe, I appreciate that your parents invited us to Spain, but I'm nervous about going with them. You know how they've treated me in the past, and I'm not sure if this trip will be any different."
"Why are you always making them out to be the villains? They're my parents and they're trying to include you in our family. Can't you just give them a chance?"
"It's not about painting them as villains. It's about the way they've belittled me and made me feel unwelcome. I don't want to put myself in a situation where I'll be constantly on edge and uncomfortable."
"You're overreacting. They've changed, and this trip is a perfect opportunity for you to see that. We can't back out now. I don't want to be embarrassed in front of my parents because of you."
"It hurts that you're dismissing my concerns, but if you insist, fine, I'll go on the trip. But remember, I'm doing this for us, not because I believe they truly changed." The days leading up to the trip were filled with Sebastian's excitement, which slowly rubbed off on me. We met Sebastian's parents at the airport, and to my surprise, they greeted me with unusual joy. I tried to convince myself that maybe they were genuinely excited about the trip. I chose to enjoy the good treatment instead of being suspicious. As we settled into our rooms after a long journey, everything seemed fine. During the first couple of days in Spain, Sebastian, Lottie, Charles, and I engaged in various activities and explored the beautiful surroundings. Surprisingly, they treated me relatively well, apart from those occasional moments when they made subtle jabs and mocked me. It was a mix of kindness and disdain that left me unsure of their true intentions. We visited historical sites, enjoyed delicious local cuisine, and took leisurely walks along the beach. There were instances when Lottie and Charles would compliment me or include me in conversations, giving the impression that they were accepting me. However, in those same moments, they would make subtle remarks about my appearance or make sarcastic comments about my choices. For example, when we were at a restaurant, Lottie commented on my order saying,
"Oh, you're getting the salad? That's surprising. I thought you preferred unhealthy food."
It was a passive-aggressive dig at my previous eating habits. Another time, when I expressed interest in exploring a nearby museum, Charles remarked,
"Really? I didn't think you had any interest in anything intellectual."
These remarks were meant to belittle and undermine me, but I dismissed them. Instead of dwelling on the negative, I focused on the fact that, compared to their usual treatment, they were being relatively polite. I saw it as a progress, a glimmer of hope, that maybe things were changing. I convinced myself that their actions were a result of them trying to accept me, even if they still had a long way to go. I wanted to believe that this vacation was an opportunity for us to bond and bridge the gap between us. In my desire for acceptance and love from Sebastian's family, I pushed aside the hurt caused by their subtle jabs and mocking. I chose to enjoy the moments of kindness, hoping that it would pave the way for a better future.
Little did I know that their behaviour was merely a facade, concealing their true intentions and the betrayal that awaited me. One night, as we lay in bed, Sebastian and I began talking about the way his parents had been treating me on our trip. Sebastian, I have to admit, I'm pleasantly surprised by how your parents have been treating me on this trip. It feels like a positive change, and I'm hopeful that things will continue this way. See, Millie? I told you there was nothing to worry about. They're finally accepting you as part of the family, just like I knew they would. You were so convinced my parents would be awful, and now you're saying I was right? I'm not trying to make you feel bad. I just want us to enjoy the trip together. If they're making an effort to accept me, I want to believe it's genuine. You always do this, Millie. You create problems when there aren't any. My parents are trying, and all you do is doubt them. I'm not doubting them. I'm being cautious. Can't you understand how their past behaviour has affected me? I want things to be better, but I can't ignore the past. Well, you better start trying. I don't want you ruining this trip for us with your negativity. Just be grateful that they're giving you a chance. Look, I just wanted to feel accepted and loved. I hope this marks a turning point for all of us, and that we can move forward in a positive direction. But the next morning, I woke up to an empty bed. Confused, I assumed Sebastian had gone to breakfast, so I went downstairs to join him. However, I couldn't find him, Lottie, or Charles anywhere. Panic set in, but I convinced myself they were in their room planning the day. When I reached their room, I found it being cleaned out by the hotel staff. Confused and worried, I asked the cleaning lady what had happened. She told me that the guest had checked out that morning. Panic intensified as I tried calling Sebastian, Lottie, and Charles, but their phones were switched off. I approached the reception desk and, desperately seeking answers, the receptionist informed me that Sebastian's parents had checked out and left with him. And to add insult to injury, they had told the hotel that I would be paying for everything. As the realization dawned upon me, a wave of panic washed over me, leaving me paralyzed with shock and disbelief. My heart pounded in my chest, and a lump formed in my throat. How could Sebastian and his family abandon me like this? The feeling of betrayal was overwhelming, engulfing me in a whirlwind of emotions. I desperately tried to reach out to Sebastian, but his phone remained switched off, leaving me feeling even more abandoned and alone. The repeated calls to Lottie and Charles yielded the same results: silence. The silence was deafening, echoing the emptiness I felt inside. My mind raced, trying to comprehend what had happened and why they would leave me stranded in a foreign country. I sat on the floor of our room, feeling utterly defeated. I searched through our luggage, desperately hoping to find some cash to cover the expenses, but Sebastian had taken everything with him. The realization that they had planned this all along, leaving me stranded and vulnerable, intensified my anguish. With tears still staining my face, I took a deep breath and composed myself. I knew I couldn't let their actions define me or ruin my entire vacation. Gathering every ounce of strength I had left, I reached for my phone and dialed my mother's number. As I poured out the heartbreaking ordeal to my mother, her voice filled with anger and concern. She reassured me that I didn't deserve to be treated this way and that she had my back. Her unwavering support provided a glimmer of hope amid my despair. "Mum, I don't know what to do. Sebastian and his parents left me stranded at the resort in Spain. They even left me with the bill to cover, and I don't have a ticket home." "What? They did what? I can't believe they would treat you like that, sweetheart. I'm so angry right now. What kind of vile human beings are they? I feel so hurt and betrayed. I thought things were getting better between us, but they proved me wrong once again. I don't know how I ended up in this situation." "Don't worry, my dear. I'm here for you, and we will find a way to fix this. First, we need to make sure you're safe and taken care of. Have you contacted anyone at the resort for help?" I explained the situation to the resort staff, but they couldn't do much. They suggested I reach out to the embassy for assistance, but I'm scared and unsure of what to do next. Take a deep breath, sweetheart. We will figure this out together. I'm going to send you enough money to cover everything. You shouldn't have to bear the financial burden of their thoughtless actions. Thank you, Mum. I don't know what I would do without you. And you know what? It's time to consider a divorce. You shouldn't have to endure such a toxic relationship any longer. A divorce? I guess you're right. It's just so hard to accept that it has come to this. I know, sweetheart, but sometimes we have to make tough choices for our well-being. I'll find you a good divorce lawyer who will help you through this process. You don't have to go through it alone. Thank you, Mum. I love you. I love you too, Millie. We'll get through this together. Stay strong. With my mother's unwavering support, the weight on my shoulders felt a little lighter. I felt a flicker of strength and determination reignite within me. I knew I had a long journey ahead, but I was ready to reclaim my life, to break free from the chains of a love that had turned sour. With the assurance of financial support and the prospect of finding a skilled divorce lawyer, I made a choice. I would extend my stay in Spain for another 5 days, allowing myself the chance to truly enjoy the vacation I had been robbed of. It was a small act of defiance, a declaration that I refused to let their actions consume me. I thanked my mother profusely for her love, support, and the financial lifeline she had extended. It was a reminder that I wasn't alone in this battle, and together we would navigate the challenging road ahead. With renewed hope and determination, I took my first steps towards reclaiming my life and finding happiness beyond the pain. During those 5 days of my solo vacation, I set out to explore the wonders of Spain, determined to leave behind the hurtful past and embrace the present. I strolled through charming streets, marveling at the vibrant culture and stunning architecture. Each new place I visited brought a mixture of emotions: excitement, wonder, and a lingering sadness for the love that had turned sour. I spent time basking in the warmth of the sun on sandy beaches, finding solace in the rhythmic sounds of the waves. The salty breeze carried away some of the pain, allowing me to breathe a little easier. I savoured delicious Spanish cuisine, sipping on sangria and indulging in tapas, finding joy in the simple pleasures of life that had been overshadowed for so long. Amidst the beautiful landscape and enchanting sights, there were moments when the pain of the betrayal crept back in. It was like a dark cloud threatening to overshadow my newfound happiness, but I refused to let it consume me. I reminded myself that this trip was a chance to heal, to rediscover my strength, and to build a new life for myself. I met kind-hearted locals and fellow travellers along the way, forging connections that reminded me of the goodness in people. Their warmth and genuine interest in my journey lifted my spirits, showing me that there was still hope for brighter days ahead. As I immersed myself in the rich history and vibrant culture of Spain, I found moments of clarity and peace within myself. I realized that I deserved to be treated with respect and love, and I had the power to create a future free from toxicity. During those 5 days, I allowed myself to grieve the end of my marriage, while also acknowledging that it was a necessary step toward my own happiness. Each day brought a mix of emotions, from heartache to hope, but I knew that I was on the right path, one that would ultimately lead to self-discovery and healing. With each passing day, my heart felt a little lighter, and a newfound sense of empowerment began to grow within me. I started to believe in myself again, recognizing that I had the strength to rebuild my life and find joy beyond the pain. During those days, I also contacted a divorce lawyer recommended by my mother. We drafted the divorce papers, ensuring I would receive alimony and more than my fair share of our marital property, including our house. The satisfaction of leaving the toxic situation I had endured for 4 years started to wash over me. 3 days into my extended vacation, Sebastian called me, but I didn't pick up. Lottie and Charles bombarded me with calls and texts, but I ignored them. Eventually, I decided to answer Lottie's call out of curiosity. "Where on earth are you, Millie? You can't just disappear like this!" "Oh, Lottie, I'm simply enjoying a much-needed vacation. I deserve some time to myself, don't you think?" "Millie, this is ridiculous! You need to come back immediately!" "Sebastian, I've made up my mind. I've contacted a lawyer and the divorce papers are already prepared. There's no going back." "Millie, please listen. We convinced Sebastian to leave you behind because of a family emergency. It wasn't his choice." "Lottie, if Sebastian can be swayed so easily, then it only proves that he never truly accepted me as part of your family. It's too late to apologize now." "Millie, we didn't mean for it to turn out like this. We thought it was for the best." "Well, it certainly worked out for the best, didn't it? I'm relieved. This whole situation has made it clear that a divorce is the right decision. Consider this our final goodbye." "This conversation isn't over, Millie. You can't just leave things like this." "Don't worry, Lottie. I have no intention of keeping any ties with you or Sebastian. This is our last goodbye." A week later, after staying at my mum's house to prepare myself, I found myself back on my doorstep. As I handed Sebastian the divorce papers, he looked shocked and speechless. His face turned pale, and I could see a mix of disbelief and regret in his eyes. He stammered, trying to find the right words, but I could tell he was at a loss. For a moment, he seemed to realize the gravity of what had transpired. I remained composed, standing my ground with newfound strength. No longer willing to be swayed by his excuses or manipulation, I felt a sense of closure wash over me. This was the moment I had been waiting for, the moment I took back control of my life. As he finally found his voice, he tried to plead with me.
Millie, just hear me out. I didn't mean for any of this to happen.
Sebastian, it's too late for apologies now. I can't keep living like this, being belittled and treated poorly by my parents. I deserve better.
I know they haven't been the kindest, but they're my family, and I thought I could make things work.
What about us, Sebastian? What about our marriage? Shouldn't that be a priority for you?
It is. It was just a mistake leaving you behind. I should have stood up for you.
But you didn't, and that speaks volumes about where I stand in your life. I can't keep pretending everything is fine when it's not.
Millie, please give me another chance. I'll talk to my parents and things will be different. I promise.
I can't do this anymore. I deserve respect and love, and I can't find that here. Here are the divorce papers.
You can't be serious after everything we've been through.
Yes, I am serious. This is the right decision for both of us. I need to find happiness and peace, and it's not with you or your family.
What about us? What about our future?
Our future is no longer together. It's time for both of us to move on. Goodbye, Sebastian. The decision to divorce Sebastian was not an easy one, but it was the right one for me. I deserved a partner who would stand by my side, support me, and cherish me for who I was. I deserved love and respect, not constant ridicule and judgment. The realization that I had the power to shape my destiny filled me with hope for the future. From that point on, I embraced my newfound freedom and savoured every moment of my remaining vacation. I experienced a mix of emotions: relief, joy, and a sense of justice. I was finally escaping the toxic environment I had endured for far too long. As I boarded the plane back home, I left behind a chapter of my life that had been filled with hurt and belittlements. And so that's how my in-laws' attempt to leave me stranded in a foreign country backfired. I took control of my life, divorced Sebastian, and emerged stronger and happier.